Hello guys, welcome back once again. So in the last session we discussed about the NAT. In fact, the last two sessions were dedicated to the NAT and this is also partially going to the NAT. So in this session I'm going to cover the NAT and we will basically learning that how to configure the NAT manually, right? So till the time we used to configure with the automatic rules, but today we will learn manually. And that manual configuration will be done, I think, within 10 to 20 minutes. And after that one, I will just focus on the packet flow, that how the packet is being flow in the firewalls. So I have just make a shortcut to cover two things, that is NAT manual policy configuration as well as the port configuration. So those two things I'm going to do together because that's basically right. We have to configure the rule, so that have to do something, so that I will configure the port forwarding with that NAT rule. So let's go ahead. In the security policy we are having like this. So the target, let me just show you that what I am going to actually do it, right? And then only we configure it. Okay, so let me just take my pen and here it is. So what we did in the last session, that we used HTTP service on this computer, right? And we were trying to access the web server on HTTP service. So HTTP service is port number 80. So we enabled the HTTP service on this web server, which was the DMZ server here. And then using the browser, we try to reach that IP address 172.16.1.10. And that was pretty obvious, and we were able to access that one, right? So now what I'm going to do, I will just do port forwarding first and then configure the rule. So in place of earlier, what happens that let us suppose you're typing in the web browser URL like google.com. So once you hit it, it automatically just take, because you are using the browser, it just take the service as HTTP first thing. So HTTP means port 80. By default, it is using the service port number 80 whenever you are using the web browser. And after that, it just checks that it is a secure one, and then it converts to the HTTPS and goes to the port 443. That the things are later on. So the main thing is that one first it goes to the port number 80 or 443, or even if you take the secure one, so the second option will be 443. So means that either it will use the port number 80 or it will use the port number 443. So because we have configured the service as an HTTP, so it is going to use the port number 80. So by default, whenever we are hitting IP address, like in the, let me just show you what we did. We just took the browser here, right? And we just hit this 10.1.51. That's what we did. And it was redirected to the Cisco. I think now it should not. Let me just check if it is still going or not, because I have to remove some of the configuration to configure the rule manually. Why it is not going? If it does not go to the web server, then at least it should go to the gateway. But I think it is having some delay. Because of that only is stuck. Yeah, here it goes. So now it is redirected to the gateway. So either when we just do the NAT and do the configuration at the device here, right? So if it nothing is configured and we are hitting this 10.1.51, so it will log on to this gateway. It will open via Gaia portal. But if we do the NAT and forward this IP address to this IP address 172.16.1.10, then on hitting this 1.51, it opens the web server 1.10 web page of the router, right? So this time what I'm going to do, I'm going to configure the, I will not use the port number as 10.1.1.51 directly. What I'm going to do this time, I'm going to use the port number 800. Okay, so whenever you just hit like this, it means that you are not using the default port, and default port is 80, so you are not using the default port, and while you are using the port number 800. But here in this web server we have configured the service for 80. So what we will do, we will forward that port 800 to port number 80 here on the device. Means from this computer we will hit the request on port 800, but we will translate that request to from 800 to 80. So this is called basically the port forwarding. We are changing the port numbers. So this feature is called port forwarding, because some of the security features, we, people do not prefer to use the default port numbers. Why we do not prefer that? If any of the packet capture, if any of the guys is doing, and if he sees that request is 443, it can easily identify this is uh, HTTPS traffic. So if he's a bad guy, or he want to inject some malicious code or something, he can just use his techniques to insert inside your traffic or the browser URL. But in case if you are not using this default port number, let's suppose you are using some random port numbers 980 52 or something, or 8088, let's say. So if you are using that port number 8088 or any port number, and the so the no if he any guys in between does the packet capture, he just find out this 8088, and he's not very sure that what is this port number 8088 is, because he is a new guy. So, and when the no this request for this port number reaches to the specific firewall or any device where you are just doing this port forwarding, you will use the method from 8088 to 443, what we are just going to do here from 800 to 80. So this is the benefit of using the port forwarding. So let's do it now. Delete it and let me open my computer. Guys, I'm feeling very sleepy this time because it's too late. But still I'm recording. Anyways, so I go here, and this time I'm going to create a rule. So add rule above. Okay, so this time this is a manual. Okay, and I'm giving the name. The attempt to lock the object has failed. Okay, not a problem. Will it not allow me to give it name? So just double click here and it will allow you to modify the name. So I'm going to give it as go forward. Okay, and then I have to define the original source. So my original source can be my internal. There is an internal network 10.1.0 and destination to any, right? Or let me add it here, a gateway 1, if the request coming from to 10.1.1.51, as we just did via the automatic rule. So it is the same thing. So original service, what I will request, I will request for the service 800. So I have to create an object for that, right? So let me create it here. Back, and here I have the services. Where is that one? It's under more, and here it is services. Okay, so for that services I'm going to create for the TCP. So just click on the TCP and give the name as TCP 800. Perfect. And match by 800. So let's put it okay. So we have created a service. Now I will add it here. Click plus sign and just put it in 800. It will match the name TCP 800 what we have just created. Okay, it's had this added 2 times. Yeah, I think it has added 2 times. Let me remove it. No, it's once, I think. Now it's good, yeah. And let me scroll right. So the translated source, do I want to translate it? No, I don't want to translate the source, but I want to translate the destination. And at the destination, I want the web server, that whatever the request. Yeah, I think here we have it's 2 times. Let me remove all and then add once. Remove TCP 800. Yep, now it's fine. And here also it's web server. It is 2 times. Oh, really? I think I just double click, but normally I should click just sing once, but I click 2 times. So we just add it to 2 times. I think it's added. It's single, not a problem. We will see if it has having some problem in the later on, right? So now the request coming to the destination gateway 1. Gateway 1 means that our IP 10.1.1.51. Then please translate that destination to this one 172.16.1.10, right? So that's what the rule we are having. And next thing is that translated service. So original it was 800, but now we want to change it to the port 80, right? So let me just check if we are having the port 80 or not. Port 80, where is that? It should be. If not, then I will add it here. Let me put it 80 here. Yeah, HTTP, right? So again, I click 2 times. Anyways, let it be like that. Port HTTP, right? So whatever the request I will initiate to the port 800, that will be translated to the HTTP, that is the port number 80. Perfect. And install on policy targets, so that is fine. And do I want to log the traffic? That is also all okay. Nothing else. So I will just install this one. So this is the basically the way of creating the NAT rule manually, because we are putting all the things here. So I'm just doing 2 things, adding the rule manually as well as the doing the port forwarding, means that I'm changing from 800 to port number 80. All right, guys. So our policy installation is successful this time. And now it's time to check whether the services are running fine or not. So earlier you remember that whenever we hit this 10.1.1.51, it was opening the Gaia portal. Let's try now. Where does it go? 10.1.1.51. Again, it is going here. Let me use this HTTP. This one. Yeah, it is refusing the connection, and it should, because I have to request for the 800, because our by default port number is not allowed to pass through, and it will not reach to the web server. But our request was that whenever the service is going to the for the port number 800, please translate to the 80, and then it will reach to the web server. So this is the right way, and here it we go. It is asking the credentials. It means that it has reached my web server this time, and it will open the default page now. So you see that what we just discussed, that uh, by if you want to use the default port number, you don't have to add anything here at the last, means after colon you don't have to do anything. You just simply put it like this, 51. But if you want to generate the traffic for any specific port number, just put here colon and the port number, whatever the port number you want to use it. And here we go, it we just simply open it, right? So that's perfect. We are not having any issue for that one. Let me just quickly tell you the packet flow, right? Yeah, before that one, it is very important. Let me just check if we are having the issue or not. Let me just because that is very important, that whenever we do such type of things, now by the way, it's just communication from the manager to the gateway is disturbed. Let me just install the policy in once again. I think it should give some error. Let me make some change here. Let's suppose I put it here, put 80, means that I will forward from 80 to 80. And now if I try to install the policy, will it install, or it will give some error? That's what I want to try. Let me, okay, it is, I think it's opening the pop-up which asks to install the policy. That's what I'm waiting for. I hit it, right? Okay, it's asking to wait. Okay, let me wait. That's why, the logic of that our checkpoint, it's very slow. And let me install it. So normally what it does, it gives an error for the TCP. Let me check that if it is giving that error or not. And why I am telling that one, that because if you are doing it in the lab, then you may face this issue and you may stuck there. Then I tell you that what how to sort out the issue. But actually this does not happen in the production environment. This is the problem just only in the lab. So it's there is no issue, because we are just one-way communication. We are doing the rule manually. But if you will be doing the rule via automatic, you may know face the issue like that installation failed. And if you see the errors, you will see something like this, that TCP port something like that, one installation failed and reason TCP connectivity failure. So if you face that issue, what you have to do, you just go to the gateway here. Means the basically the problem is that, let me just explain the problem first, that what is actually the problem. What is the problem here, that whenever the you send the request from manager to the gateway, manager tries to communicate from the IP address 10.1.51, right? So it just sends a request to the gateway, and in response to that, the gateway should respond it back to the thing that, okay, I have configured the policy or installed the policy on my gateway. But what happens here, we have a policy or the NAT rule, that whenever the traffic request comes to this IP address 10.1.1.51, please translate that destination to this server. So that is the issue, that whenever the even when this computer is trying to communicate, this is reaching to the web server. That was the target, which was not our target, that the communication from the manager communication from the manager should not go to the web server, that our gateway should respond. But whenever we configure policy for this, this is automatically happening for this as well. So because of that, it is having the issue that we are breaking the communication between the manager and the gateway. So how to sort out this issue? The solution is SIC, secure internal communication. You have to reset the SIC communication. How to do it? Let me show you. You will have to go to the gateway here. Now you just click it here, right? You click it here, it will open a gateway. Yeah, here it is. Just log in. Perfect. And now here you go as a CP config. If you it will ask you the different options. So right now my target is to secure internal communication, so I will select the option 5 here. It will ask that do you want to reinitialize the communication. I will say yes, I want to it. Do you really want to do it? Yes, I want to do it. Once I say it yes, it asks me to enter activation key. You remember this is the same activation key which we used to set at the initial wizard. Whenever we just opened the firewall first time, it was an automatic setup, and in that automatic setup of the gateway, it asks for the activation key. The same activation key, it is like that. So I'm going to put as Cisco 123. You can also use the same one. Now it is asking to the 9. So but this is not recommended in the production environment, because this is going to stop the firewall, stop all the traffic forwarding. So this is like a reboot of your device, right? So or we can say the CP stop and CP start. But yeah, for the lab you can do it, but never ever do in the production environment without proper approvals and changes. Once they are approved and you're authorized to do, there's no problem, but don't do like normal process, because that is highly traffic affecting. Once it is done, because there's a the SIC reset has to be done from both the ends. One is from the firewall and another is from the manager. So we have just done from the firewall. Let it complete it, then we will reset it on the manager, and the manager is accessible via our smart console. So we go to the gateway and servers. You see here it is a green, but actually the communication has been broken and that should not be green, but it is a little delay, not a problem. So yeah, here general properties, and inside the communication, you go it here. You see the certificate state, that is trust established. Let me reset it. It will go. You see that is uninitialized, means there is no communication between the manager and the gateway. So we will add the Cisco 123 here and initialize the communication. As we do it, now trust is established and everything will go smooth. So that was the problem actually you may face while you doing your lab. uh, I should have told you in the previous class, but I missed it. So just it came in my mind, so thought to discuss. Otherwise, you will always stuck in the lab. Another thing, what I wanted to discuss with you, that is the packet flow. Let's discuss that one, right? So okay, so in my desktop, my dream girl is here. This is my favorite wallpaper. It keeps on changing every day. So some of the days it comes, some of the days it goes. Anyways, so my job was that how the actually the packet flows in the firewall. So specifically, I will be talking about the checkpoint. So the first, whenever any of the packet enters to the checkpoint firewall, the very important thing is that is just check the connection table. What it just checks? This checks the connection. That are we having any connection from here to there or not? Let's say this is our inside and this is our outside. So the first packet comes is just checks that whether we are having the connection for in the firewall running or not. If the connection is running in through the firewall, then obviously the traffic will be allowed and it will be going through. Just it will just check the, you can say, the file content, that whether it is not having any malicious content inside, and remaining it will be allowed to pass through the firewall. Another thing that after the connection, but if the connection is not there, what is going to do, because it might be that it has the connection has just initiated and it has the SYN bit as 1, is that traffic is not going through the firewall right now. So the next thing it is just will check the policy, right? If the connection is established, it means that it has already checked the policy and it is allowed, so it will continue to allow. But if the connection is not there and it is trying to initiate the connection, then it will check the policy, that whether that specific IP address, a specific source to the specific destination, the required service, the required app ID, that is allowed or not. So that is being checked via the policy. It will just do the proper check, whatever the policies are there. It will just do from the top to bottom lookup. If any of the policies matched at the top, it will allow the traffic, whether it might be denied at the bottom. So that's how the policy check is being done, and that is the way we just discussed in the previous session. Once the policy check is done, then it is going to do the NAT. So once the traffic is allowed, now we are very sure that which particular source or the group of the sources that is allowed to reach my specific DMZ server or any of my outside IP address or inside IP address, whatever the policy it can have depending on the requirement. If that is allowed, then it will go for the NAT. NAT means that as we just said, it might be having like web server, right? And it will be having some of the public IP address like this one. It will translate that to the appropriate IP address of the web server. In our practice, it was 172.16.1.10. So it will translate to this destination. But if that was any malicious user, right? There are some bad users as well, and you have blocked this IP address. Let us suppose it was this guy was 99.99.99, and you have blocked this user, that this is a malicious user. I don't want him to let access to the web server. So if you have blocked it, so obviously the policy exists in the blocking here, right? There will be policy to block it, so it will not allowed, and the obviously it is not be required to NAT that IP address, right? Why you will forward that uh, packet to the web server? Well, why you will overload your device, the CPU and memory of the device, and you will translate it. So that is just checked via the from the policy. Another thing is being checked via the routing. Once all those things is done, then it checks the routing. You remember that on our web server, we configured IP route. Even in the device, if the any of the packet is reaching here, then if it has reached here, you have translated. But now whether this packet has to go to this interface or it has to go to this interface, or you are having the web server here something, so it has to go this way, right? So there should be some specific routing based on the which IP has been requested based on the NAT rule, right? So if you have another like DMG server here 172.16 dot 10.10, right? So that should be going through some other interface, let's suppose Ethernet 3. And this is Ethernet 2, something like that one. So it has to go some other interface. It will not go where the previous packet was going. So there is a requirement of the routing. So that's the basic requirement. And before all of this, there is a very important thing that is being checked, which is our anti-spoofing. So there is a always checked, but there is a feature or an option in the checkpoint firewall. You can enable or disable it, anti-spoofing, because sometimes anti-spoofing is creating problem in your network, right? So you may have to disable it, but if it does not required, you can enable it. So that is basically depending on the use cases and the requirement of your enterprise. And top of all of them, there is a SAM database check. Let me change the color here. SAM database check. So what is this SAM database check? SAM stands for the suspicious, just mind my spelling because I sometimes do the mistakes here. Suspicious activity monitor. So there are some of the things, right? It can be having some malicious users, and you want to monitor them. So that is basically whenever any of the traffic is traveling through your firewall, that is always being used in the SAM database. So that's how the packet flow is there, and how that's how the packet flow is there, and how the packet is being checked step by step in the checkpoint firewall. But I just want to show you the SAM database in the checkpoint firewall. Okay, so let me clear it and go to my lab. So, yeah, here it is. So in the security policies, no, gateway and servers, let me go to the gateway here. If you open it here, you see there's a different things here, right? There are multiple options. So these are basically called as a software blade, right? So if you want to any of these features, there are multiple features available in the like firewall, IPsec, VPN, QoS monitoring, data loss prevention, anti-spam, and email security. So these all features are supported in the checkpoint firewall, but obviously in order to use them, you have to buy license for these things, right? So this is our lab setup, and we are having the trial version of this firewall. Obviously I have the trial version of this, so I can use all of the features. But if you want to use them in the production environment or your company, then the company have to buy the license for that purpose. So the SAM database comes under the monitoring, so I'm going to enable it, put it okay, and then just go to the logs and monitor. If you go to the logs and monitor, click on this plus tab here. Okay, so you see that there is an option like external apps. So earlier in the older releases, it used to go in the external apps, but here in these releases, it still opens the new app, but opens in the same. It doesn't go to anywhere else, right? External and user monitoring. So now the fingerprint server was changed, immersed to protect against impersonation server. Compare the new fingerprint. Okay, not a problem. Yes, I have proved it is a valid. So now it is opening our smart view monitor. My trial period will expire in 12 days. All right, guys. So that's how we see the smart view monitor here. So this is a separate app as from the smart monitor. So this was our smart monitor, and now we have opened the another app that is called smart view monitor. So this is just a app feature in the checkpoint firewall. If you use some other firewalls, they are having the web browser system, and you can just see everything in one. but here this is Java based program, so they are having a different type, so not to worry. So the say SAM database, you can see it here, this one. You see that this is showing as the suspicious activity rules, right? So whatever the suspicious activity rules you want to create, you can create it here, or not create it here, you can view it here, in fact, right? So first, the very important thing is you have to uh, see some of the traffic. So let's me just click it here, whether you can just view the traffic of your uh, firewall or not, right? If you want to see the traffic on it, right, or the top sources, you can click on the traffic here and then click on the top sources. There will be somewhere top sources. Yeah, here it is. So now there are no match machines that contain firewall blades and monitoring blades. Okay, why it is not there? Because there are no machines contains firewall monitoring blade. Okay, I have just enabled it, but I don't remember that why it is throwing this error, because I have just enabled it. Might be that it has not taken that. I think it is enabled monitoring. Yeah, I have enabled it. I don't understand why it is still throwing this error. I think it needs to install it. Let's publish and install, then let's see. So sometime it happens like, things are not properly reached to up to the firewall. So because of that, publishing it may only take a moment. And now I click it install, and let's see if it is installed successfully or not. Normally it should not be having an issue. And then we will check whether we are able to see the gateway over there or not. Yeah, so it is done. Now let me check the monitor. So yeah, I see this is system. Okay, so let me go to the again top sources here, and yeah, now this time we are getting the pop-up like gateway 1. Click it OK here, and we don't have any traffic right now. I think system gateway. Okay, this is system, this is top source, and this is the firewall, this is checkpoint. But I should normally, what happens that we see some of the graph here. The thing is that whenever we are seeing the traffic here, I let me initiate some of the traffic if we can just see there, right? So let me go to the this Chrome and let me hit it here once again. So okay, I have changed from 800 to 80. So let me, yeah, this is should give some traffic over there. We still do not see it here. Why is that? Enable, no, not like that. Okay, I still do not see the graph. Why is like that? Anyways, I don't see, might be the traffic is not coming, although I have initiated, but I still don't see any of the traffic here. So normally, let me just explain you what actually happens, right? Because I know, but you might not have. So what happens here? You might be seeing some of the graphs like that one. You will be seeing the traffic that based on that IP addresses. So here at the bottom, you will be having some IP addresses. So now what you can do? You can just let's suppose any of the traffic is going very high, and you suspect that this is unwanted traffic, and that is uh, might be causing something. So what you can do, you can just right click on that one, okay, and you can just block that one. Correct. So what happens that that is a malicious traffic. So you just block that traffic instantly. So that IP address will not be allowed. So meanwhile, you get some time to evaluate the things that what is the problem. Is that guy can impact our servers or services or not? So the best thing that is once you add it here, right? You click it here as a block, then what happens that instantly now you if you go to it here suspicious activity rules, that you whatever you have just blocked it, that will be showing here at the bottom. So you have to just select that on which gateway or on which firewall you have created that rule. That rule will be showing here. So it is something like that one, that let us suppose you have blocked this. Let me change the color. Do not feel put it here. Let me suppose this 10.1.1.10, that was a source, and that was trying to hit the IP address 10.1.1.51. Any service action was block, or we can say the drop, right? I just drop the packet. Track, yes, you can track it, yes. So this is normally less just like a security policy where all the options are like that one, and you can just block or uh, yeah, this is just to block the traffic. So you will just block it here. If you want to remove that one, obviously after some time, if you analyze it and you get it that, this guy is a genuine user and he's not a suspicious uh, attacker, then what you can do, you can just simply click it here on the, just select that rule from here and click on remove. So once you remove that one, so obviously that rule is removed from here, and now uh, that user will be accessing the internet. So that's how this SAM monitor works actually. So this is also a type of monitoring. So that's how we do it. Okay. And this is just to introduce you that how actually we do it, because normally this is done by a cybersecurity specialist, or we can say the SOC. We call it as a security operations control, right? So they use it this feature very rapidly, because they have to monitor that any attack is not happening on their enterprise or network. So this is basically for that purpose, because you can see the live graph here. So you see that background graph is running live. I don't think it's having some issues and it's not showing here. So but by default it's just having the bar graph, and it will be running like from right to left like this one, like that means that the traffic is traveling. So that's how we'll do it. So that's it for the day. I think it is sufficient for this session. And this is already good one. And I think that's how we finish our NAT. There's nothing more to cover on this. Obviously, there's no limit of any of the topic. You can keep exploring and keep learning. But yeah, that is sufficient what I cover it. And if you have any questions, you can always reach me or write in the comment section. I will get back to you. Right? So I think you know how to reach me for any of your queries. Just do it. I will be really happy to help you guys. So till that, bye bye. See you soon in the next session. Okay, guys. Bye bye.